what is it all about? What is life all about now when it's just me? Anyone else get those feelings? Hi, welcome back. I'm a bit late getting going this morning. Wasn't too well overnight, still not. Started with a cold, sinusy. It's not nice, is it? Time of the year. Today we're going to do a bee. Yeah, that's my bee. It's not on that flower. I think it's going to be on this flower, or it's going to be on this flower. Who knows? You know me, through these, I chop and change my mind partway through a piece of artwork, and it's just the way art is sometimes. So I've got, because of my sinuses, I have got coffee with honey in it. Some would put whiskey, but I need to paint, and I need to paint straight lines sometimes. And I've got a good box of tissues too. So let's go and get going and see where we get with this lovely bee. So I'm going to start this one with a bit of a bluey turquoise background. I don't want to go in too strong. I wanted to keep it pale this week. I guarantee it's really, you know me. Last week I was quite happy with changing the whole background, so we won't pretend this is just going to be definitely what it is, yeah? Until towards the end of the picture. I want to scrub it in, you know. That's the bee's wings, but it's going to be translucent, so I need to have the blue underneath it. So the bee this week, I was just looking through my reference pictures, because I keep pictures all over the place of things that I might want to paint at some point. And I came across the bee and I thought, oh, that would be nice. Something cheerful, a bit of plant. Let's go for that. So I was looking up the symbolism and everything of the bees, because that is part of the whole process of me doing these paintings. I need it to be symbolised somewhere. And some of them, of course, don't always go immediately with the grief journey we're necessarily on. But the one thing that it really did hit home with me personally this week was the fact that they work in a community. And the whole idea of me building this channel on YouTube is to build a community where like-minded people going through grief can come along, they can paint, they can do whatever, you know, whatever craft or whatever they like. Some people might just want to listen and with a cup of tea or coffee, and that's fine, but it's all about building community, and that straight away for me was like, yeah, let's do this one. I might actually, to be honest, just get my fingers in there and just soften some of those edges up. So I might just put my fingerprints in there. Actually, I think I wasn't really wet enough to do that. That's kind of, I've made the right pattern there. I wasn't really expecting to do that. I quite like it. So let's just see if we can just do that elsewhere and enjoy that pattern. Oh, it's like everything. Once you like it, leave it. That's quite interesting, actually, isn't it? So from last week I did actually wash all my brushes, and this one's looking a lot nicer again now. And if you find you're having an issue with the brush and you're not getting the points back, or it just seems to have gone a bit misshaped, just get some boiling hot water in a cup with a bit of washing up liquid and wash the brushes in there, and then shape it and dry it flat. And that way you'll revive your brushes, so you don't have to buy more. Anyway, going back onto this bee now, we need to find it back in all of this background, which I actually quite like. So I'm just going to just very quickly go and just highlight it in a bit. I want to keep it light and loose. So that was normal, it's paint grey that I'm going with. They're lovely creatures, aren't they, bees? So what sort of a week have you had? Has it been a good week? Or have you had a tough week? There's a lot of people recently that I've been reading other groups that I'm personally in, really having a bit of a tough time at the moment. I think it's the time of the year, you know, and it is good sometimes to have that community where you can just bob in and just get things off your mind, because the only people that understand you is the people that are actually going through what you're going through. Especially if it's your spouse, your partner. People just think you get over it. You don't. You learn to live aside it, you learn to live around it. And that's where we're all at in a way, isn't it? Learning a new life. Because every bit of your life does change. And you end up with a new life that you have to create. And it takes time. Some of us are further on with the journey, and that is, it's not easier. Even 4 years on, you know, I can have a day where everything just gets too much. you also want to discuss your issues, everything you're going through. And the only person that you really want to discuss them with is the one person that's not here. And I think that's the bit that makes it all so hard. Now the flower. I started one flower and then found another one and decided I wanted to go with the other one. Although it's a quite complicated one now when I look at it. But we're going to go for it anyway. So I want pale pink to start with. I could go completely white just to get these colours to pop, but I am actually going to put a bit of the pale white in, and I'm just going to create the centre of the flower. I have no idea what this flower is. I absolutely love flowers, but I'm not very good at knowing what flowers are. And I've said it before, Rob used to buy me flowers all the time, bless him. We always had flowers around, and it was nice. I found the sun attacking me, haven't I? I have a feeling actually this flower that I've just found in my reference pictures on my iPad is actually in a bouquet of flowers that she bought me. So reading a little bit more about the bees. The bees do work in a community. They're necessary for the environment as well, aren't they? We all need bees around. And so yeah, it's all about community and working together, pollinating the plants as well, which is so important. In there with them, there's always priorities that, you know, they like us. They sometimes look after themselves. And there's a lot of people say, oh, you know, take care of yourself. I detest that comment. Don't know if I've mentioned that before. If I have, I apologise. But I do detest that comment because sometimes I just think, what on earth does that ever mean? Because it just almost isolates you from people. So yeah, I always think that, yeah, we do need to look after ourselves. But not in a take care of yourself because we're not around kind of way. I think if you are mindful of where you're at, and I try and do this sometimes because we panic about the future. We're left in this situation of a new life that we haven't quite worked out. We didn't want to be here, did we? And I think sometimes we can so focus on the future and get more and more worked up about it that sometimes it's good just to say, what's happening right this minute, right now? What can I do to make this minute better? So yeah, that's kind of the mindfulness bit that I always think is the one that's important. Bring yourself back, because I know recently I've been a bit like that of, what on earth am I doing with my life? This is not the life I actually envisaged over the rest of my life, in a way. I'm not young. And here I am, and I've changed direction so many times in 4 years that Rob's not been with me. Because part of me's been trying to find where I'm at, find what I'm doing. And things evolve. And I suddenly evolved to making a YouTube channel. People aren't always there for you. People have slipped away, or they don't understand, so they're not there for you. So I think sometimes it's nice to have a community of people who understand where you're at. Right, let's go back to the bee. I've also this week got a cold, which has been a bit annoying. So I was a bit late starting this today. It took me a little while to get myself up and moving. But again, that's fine, isn't it? It's at this point that I just think it'd be nice to have someone to look after me, wouldn't it? I would never be one to make a big fuss about an illness, but it's just still nice to be with people when you're not feeling well. I need to get this a little bit looser, so we're building in layers of glazing. They're quite a furry little animal, aren't they? Far too much yellow on my plate. Maybe that's a good indication that I should put something else down the bottom to use that. We'll work it out. So the centre of this flower has a little bit of the yellow in. Presumably that's where the pollen is that it'll be going for. So I've just added a bit of white there. I think I'm going to add a few daisies in and just have a bit more foliage down here, I think. So I'm just going to get some different greens in. This is almost a little bit random. I just want those underneath bits done first, because if we don't do that, it's very hard to get them in afterwards. And some of it would be quite dark. Keep it a bit turquoisey to go with the background. What I'm doing is really building up a stack of stems. And then we'll put leaves and flowers in there. I put some daisies. I like painting daisies. Going back to taking care of ourselves as such, it is important that we think about some things like moving, you know, keeping to a degree of fitness. I always think that now I'm just me. Say I fall, say I have an issue, then really I need to be a lot fitter. And so I'm not like super fit, believe me. But I try and go for a walk. And I do a quick walk. So at least I'm moving my body. And I try and eat well. I don't eat masses. But I'm conscientious that what I eat is good food. When I said I don't eat things that I shouldn't eat, like I do eat biscuits. No, flapjacky biscuits. I've got to think about flapjacky biscuits at the moment. They're a certain make. But if I buy them, I eat them too quickly. So again, I don't buy much. But you're right, you know, but I do treats. But I do think keeping an element of fitness is very important. And it's good for our mind as well. I know when we first lose someone, and if you're at that stage, that's too wet, isn't it? It is just really, you know, if you're getting up and moving and getting yourself out of bed. It's issue with the sun, I can't have that. 1 minute it's sunny and the next it's really dark as if I need a light on. So yeah, when it's the first, you know, the first few months really, it is hard, and it's just a case of keep moving, keep doing a little bit. If you've done a little bit each day, that's good enough. But I do think that we need to think about our health and what we eat, and because there's just us now. There's no one to look after us. If we were poorly, quite the same. Yeah, you might have family to do that. My family's far too far away to even know that I was not well last night. So I have to think about silly little things like that all the time. And I think that's the part of look after yourself, is what we have to do, those bits. So I'm just doing this little bee in little layers. I'm mixing blues and a bit of purpley colour as well there, because I just think it adds texture. Black is, it's not really black, or you'll always have reflections of colours in it. The middle of some of these ones at the beginning is white, so we'll get that white under there. Although I've got a reference picture, I'm not trying to do it exact. I'm just doing a suggestion of how the flower is. We'll define the petals in the end a little bit more, give them more clarity of where they are. Right now I'm just getting colours in and the ideas of them in. And a good reason to do the bee today was I'm always a bit of a alternative health person, and I do like, you know, if I've got a cold, then I use my honey and my lemon. So yeah, I like a little bit of honey. Sure, that would be so yellow in the middle, but mine is. Just putting little bits of pollen on his legs. As we build up those tufts of, is it fur? Gosh, what is it on a bee? Is it fur? Is it hair? They're just fluffy little things, aren't they? Anyway, whatever it is, as you go in with different layers, you get that depth better. You just keep adding little touches. Then let them dry. If you don't dry, then they'll just blend, and then you won't get the little touches of it at all. And then I'm just going to build a daisy. It's just gentle, just petals. Some of them would be short on this side because the bee is the way you're looking in them. And then some of them will be coming down from the centre. I think it's one of my favourite flowers to paint, just because it's quick and easy, and it shows the flowers very quickly, doesn't it? So I've just got my little dagger brush now. I know what it's called, as I looked it up last week, and I'm just going to edge some of those leaves. It's all about just altering the greens all the time. So if you're on your journey, what sort of things do you do to, what's your non-negotiables in a way to thinking, right, this is not the journey I ever wanted to be on, but how am I going to do it? Is there some things that you think, well, I must do that, I must keep fit, I must keep healthy, or I must, what are the things that you really find you must do? And believe me, there are days when I just think, maybe I don't want to do that today, and that's also fine. I think we're allowed a day off. I think when in a house and when you've not been used to doing everything on your own, just even getting used to doing everything, it's quite hard work. You see, some jobs you have to prioritise and think, right, well, I haven't got time for that, but I'll have to wait. Write that in the comments. What's your non-negotiables? Maybe you don't have any. But somewhere along the line, sometimes we have to find a bit of a reason to get out of bed. Some people might work and have to get out of bed. I've always been self-employed. I did help someone at a cafe last year, which really was good for me. But I'm not really the most easily employable person because I've always run the show. If that makes sense. All my working life. Which makes this, sometimes I'm gone from making jackets to making art or painting. It's been an absolute godsend, my painting. But it's a massive difference, and I'm starting a whole new sort of business. I still have to earn some money. That's just fact of life, isn't it? So yeah, building again is quite challenging. There was a point this past week where I've actually I didn't sit down actually, I was staring out of my bedroom window, talking to Rob, because Rob's in there, honest. I think some people, if they weren't going through grief and they would never understand that as far as you're concerned, they're still here with you in a different way, just in a different form. But there was this week a point where I was like, where am I going with my life? What? I've never really been able to plan. I think that's it. Since Rob died, and people say, oh, in business you plan ahead. You might only plan a year ahead or whatever, but I've never been able to plan. I've found it very, very difficult. So I think that is part of the issue with me is, where am I going? What's my purpose in life now? And I've done these paintings on YouTube. There's a whole series of these paintings through grief, and I've now created the first 7 into a pack of affirmation cards, and that's great. And I have sold some, which is absolutely brilliant. And if you want to buy them, back there's a link in the bottom. And my aim was to do a whole set in different stages. And I've got other things on my mind, but sometimes you do sit there and go, but what is it all about? What is life all about now when it's just me? Anyone else get those feelings? I'm quite liking where I'm going with this. I'm a bit concerned about getting in those middle bits, and I have to concentrate now once this section's dried. I'm using a paper plate today because I went to a different place and didn't get a yogurt lid that I've been using recently. It soaks in the plate a little bit and it dries up easier. I'm not sure I like the paper plate. I've just made that a little bit more watery so it goes in as a bit more of a glaze actually. I want to do some brighter green as well, I think. I could have waited to put those other flowers in, but sometimes I need to just see where I'm going. with a piece of artwork. So yeah, if I end up going backwards a little bit, it's fine. Okay, so I think I need to define some of these petals now. So I'm going to make a darker mix and probably just a stronger pink mix as well. Just need to get rid of those blue bits in there. Just added a little bit more of the Payne's grey to it, so it's not always the same colour when it goes in. So the B for me particularly is one of the things, the symbols is hard work and diligence. And right now, I suppose for me, because I'm now at 4 years on and I'm trying to build something that will sustain me, something with my art, then for me hard work is part of it now, and diligence. It says there, please remind us that success comes from hard work and persistence. Believe me, it is a lot of persistence. But my other business, when we started that one off, that was a long time ago, it's like 30 odd years ago. Again, it didn't just happen overnight, it happened with persistence. So I kind of know that, but there are days when it's just like, what am I doing? Why at my time of life am I even considering restarting a business? But this life is not the same. It's not the life that I ever envisaged. It's not what any of us envisage, is it? That losing your partner relatively young as well. I know there's a lot of young people died over the past few years. You're always seeing that. And, you know, the person that's left behind, they were never going to be expecting that at this stage of their life. And somehow, you have to find a way through. It's stages and step by step. I have days when I'm very productive and days when I'm not quite. And that's how I was this week. Was that, what am I doing? But I enjoy painting, and if I can keep painting and get other people painting their way through the grief, then I'm achieving something, aren't I? And I think that's where I'm at right now. Is keep building with the hope that our channel will grow, with more people coming to watch, and I'll have achieved my goal of helping others through what can only be described as the shittiest time of year. Sorry everyone. So now I've got those darks in. I'm going to actually do a bit of a glaze over, because some of those I need to let it dry. I'm going to glaze over part of it because I've still got blues coming through and I don't want that. So I'm going to put a few yellow centres in the daisies. I might add some more daisies in the end. So while that dries, I'm just going to go up here with these bits. It's just whatever grows, isn't it? It's foliage, it's different growth, different trees, different bits of plant. Let's make it up as I go along. Don't ask me what the plant is because I have no idea. Again, I'm going over quite watery so it fills in some of those gaps. To drag some of that down because it wouldn't be just a blob, would it? There we go. So then I'm just going to go over quite loose, lazy, so I get rid of all that underneath. And I know I'm going over some of these flowers, but don't forget they would be layers. You know, you're not going to look out and just the flowers will be at the angle you see. There's going to be some at the back. I like that mix actually. By doing it as a glaze, you can see the different colours coming through then as well. Are we dry enough? Yeah. It's a bit warmer today, which is great. Generally. It was cold last week. Oh, some chilly mornings up here in Scotland. It was, but then in saying that, you know, all the country gets chilly weather. People just think we're colder, but we're actually not always colder. We're just the same. Just glazing some of those areas. It's a bit of a ready glaze, that one as well, isn't it? I like doing that bit, just glazing back, and then we'll build this back up. I think there's still little areas of the red that are blue showing through. There we go. So I've not done this for a little while, but I want to get some blobby bits of plants down here. So I'm going to actually just mix some green and just do a spray onto it for a change with my fan brush, because I always struggle with this, and I'm just going to spray that on. Anywhere I don't want them, I'm just going to lift them back off. Sometimes I think it's coming off my finger more than it comes off the brush. I did this now because obviously that's going to be painted again, the top layers. So I think that's dry. I'm not sure about that section there, but we'll keep going. It's just these little petals that just go upwards. This is quite glazy as well, so it will show some of the underneath through. Most of these petals have a little white bit at the bottom. Just want to just create the shape of the petal with them. Something like this, just to put some into the yellow, and then it'll just help to make the top coats pop. Maybe create a few more flowers. See, some of those that we've got on there will go to the back, and some of these will probably just go over them a little bit. Just makes it a tad more realistic if you've got layers of flowers rather than just a top layer. I'm on lemon now to keep me going. So I'm going with the cadmium yellow there because it's just a little bit richer and it's not as opaque as the other one. So going back to this bee, I think this is one of the hardest ones to actually come to terms with, is accepting change. And you know, the bees work with the seasons, they're changing all the time, but we were thrown into a season we weren't ready for. Is that true? And I think that's the really tough one. And if I'm really honest, acceptance of what's happened. I actually don't think I accepted the situation until after the second year, so going into the third year. I think I was just in a... You kind of go around assuming things are going to go backwards and you've got the life back, but you don't. People have abandoned you completely quite often as well. I'm sure you've felt that, which is a tough one. That is the tough one, when people don't want to know anymore. So by just putting that little bit of white in there, it just makes some of that yellow a lot brighter. I'm not trying to cover all the white at this point. Again, we'll still go in layers. Those will need another coat on those white ones. Maybe it's already ready for them, let's see. Yeah. Sometimes it dries quite quickly, and then other times it seems to take forever. If you're going to draw this one or paint this one, really seriously, I think doing the daisies is good fun. Just trying to do some of the background, so then when we go on these front bits, if anything's gone over, we can do that as well. They are just foliage of some description. There's a few arrow lights in there. I need to have a little bit more clarity on the flower itself. I don't think it's not really getting the lift on it, is it? Let's have a quick look. Yeah, it's not different enough, is it? When I get to this point, it's like, I want a pen. I want to get my pen in here and individualise those petals. Just put a little bit of red in there as well, just to make it a little bit different colour. A mixture of the two yellows. Some of those flowers, the new flowers, we'll have to do this twice because it's not going to give enough coverage in one coat, so we'll aim at that twice. I'm actually going in quite thick now as well. I'm not really watering that paint down, I'm just going in with it straight from the tube really. It's just a case of just keep building those layers as usual. So if you're enjoying my videos, please do like and subscribe. It really is the only way I will build the network, the channel, is if people actually want to watch it and like it. Oh, we should have put some yellow into this bit as well, shouldn't we? A bit into the bee itself, yeah, the main character. He's got a bit shunted away there, hasn't he? Again, I've gone on quite thick. It's going to take a little bit of time for some of these places to actually dry. I'm going to just try and go in there with, even though the underlay isn't completely dry, just let's get the suggestion of those middles in. Just having a different colour in there just give it a little bit of depth as well. Okay, so I'm going to go around all those petals and just define the edges of each one now, because I do think this is a mixture of the red and a pink. Sometimes it's so much easier just to twist the board around rather than struggling. We're very, very near to doing those wings, but anything that's going to be under the wings needs to be clarified now, otherwise it's not going to work. So those inside ones, sometimes they've just got a little bit lost. So whilst that quickly dries, I'm just going to do the same with these yellow ones, because actually both the yellow and the white really need a top up, don't they? There's one more thing with the bees, which I actually do like this one, and it's something we should all learn from. Especially because I don't do it either. I tend to fill my days so chocker because I'm just me otherwise and I have time to think. If I don't have time to think, then that's fine. But sometimes we do need time to think. So the bee has a strong work ethic, it says. I mean, they say busy bees, don't they? Really, and they are busy little creatures. I think these yellows have gone a bit too dark now, but never mind, I'll put a bit of yellow on in a minute. They have a strong ethic, but it also knows when it should stop and smell the roses. And maybe that's what we have to remember is, we have to give ourselves a chance to just stop and absorb and have time out. And it is one thing that I am actually rubbish at doing. If the grandchildren come up, then I do give them all my attention and have time out with them. To me is so important. Yeah, I think I did go a bit dark on this, but no matter, let's see what it dries like and then we'll add a bit. So this is going to be a complete wash glaze. We'll strengthen the edges of it as we go along. I really do want it watery. So this one comes here. They're like in little sections as well, which is lovely. That's coming from the other side. It's not quite as watery as it could be. That's better. It's very watery now. Okay, and this other one comes from here and goes down. Not sure about the shape of that one now, but we can alter it as we go along. Okay, so that's just the start of where we want to be. Going up in there. I have to let that dry completely now. So once we do that, we'll do here. Just give those a little bit of strength. It's always good just to stand back and look at your artwork and see where you think it needs just that little bit of a lift. I'm just going to get the legs back in as well. We seem to have lost those along the way. So this one is coming here. And this back one. There's another one in there. It's from the other side. Some of those rough hairs in. The front of his face is actually quite flat there, so we don't want to get those in there. I just feel as though I need to make more of a deal over some of those dark areas in the middle of the plant as well. It's kind of just defining around those petals a little bit, isn't it? So use that muddy colour in there as well, because it's nice just to get a little bit of a different shade of black. One that lifts. Oh, it's quite ready on there. The other thing that I was a little bit concerned about is it should really have a stem, and we've kind of not got a stem. Maybe I'll add that to yellow because I've got it, and a touch of that, and just decide whether that's actually a stem coming from that plant, that flower should I say. So the wings are going to have reflection of the flower in it, on a reflection of the back in it. So parts of it, I want a little bit of yellow in there, a little bit of pinky red in there. It's just hints. You can see how watery I am. It's just that opaqueness. Pinky red. Same way. So if you can hear the pheasants in the background, they're very noisy things. They're about to go roosting, I think, that time of the day. One of them all shouts out to gather them all up. One of them decided to do it right outside my window yesterday. It was a tad annoying. But they live such a sad life, I kind of forgive them sometimes. And I do think now, after the last bit I said about the bee being, knowing when to take a bit of time to breathe. So I think the wording on this one should be, I honour my heart. I honour my heart by giving it room to breathe, because I think it's really important we do that. I'll clarify a few bits of this a little stronger now. I actually have a couple of bits of highlight in there as well. It's just drawing back in that wing. This bit might be a little bit stronger under there. It's like everything would just have to keep adding those little glazes around to give that impression of that wing there. Same as this side. I'm not sure if it's actually big enough. That's just a bit of a glaze. If it's always going in and out of the flowers, it's just going to have bits of pollen, isn't it? I left this one last night because, you know, I was talking about looking after our health and everything, and I was working with a cold, which, you know, sometimes isn't that big a deal, but my sinuses were feeling absolutely awful. So I did practice what I was preaching and took a little bit of time off. So I'm going to go back into this a little bit. It's not far from finished, but I want those to brighten up. I think I darkened them a little bit too much by going in with the deeper yellow. So I'm just going to put a bit of white on, because by putting the white on first, when I put the yellow back on, a bright yellow, it will pop better. So I'm doing it here, just on the yellow flowers, and I'm going to do it a little bit on the big flower as well, because some of that big flower, I did the shaping on it, but it's now a bit too red, solid, and it just needs a little bit of the pink putting back in. But I'm going to go and do it in the same manner as this one now. So I'm just going to go into some of these petals. Might be a little bit strong. I don't want to go right down to the edge as much as just in some areas. I'm also trying not to lose that outline of the petal too, because, you know, we had clarified that and we've got it nice and sharp in areas. So anyway, once you've looked at a piece of artwork overnight, you can often find bits that you think, maybe not. And it's good to go back in and have another go. If anyone watched the hair last week, and if you haven't seen the hair, repainting the hair, it's worth a watch. I decided, right, almost to finish, that I didn't like the sky at all. Painted the whole thing out. Ended up repainting it, all on camera. So that these wings, they're just about right. But I'm just going to give a little bit of clarity of a stronger white. Again, it's quite watery. I'm stuck to that watery. It's got a bit of an issue there with one of the lines of the flower, so I'm just going to take that out a little bit down, cover that, so it'll just make it a bit better. I didn't finish yesterday when the sun had gone off, but now I'm back and I'm still with this one. So I'm just going to go in with a little bit of lemon yellow now over those. Can you see the difference of how that, because it's white underneath, that colour pops out? So I never covered those petals completely with the white, so you've still got the tones of different colours as well. Okay, so this pinky bit. By glazing outside of there as well, you're going to just add a little bit of pink into the whole of the petal, but some areas won't be as strong as where the white is. Building those up is all about trusting the process as well. I'm just going to put a tiny little wash of that, quite watery, into those wings as well, so it's just that little bit of a reflection. Add a little bit of the red back into it and strengthen it a little bit, because I'm going to go back into there and just do a little bit more. But I also want to have a little bit of the red into some of these foliage at the side. And this is a new plant. I have no idea what it's called, but sometimes you get this foliage stuff that's whatever colour. I'm sure it's probably made up in my imagination, but that's fine. Anything like this, you can be going like this for a long time before you decide when you've finished. That's fine. You know, if you're doing this, make it yours. Do that. Add little bits here and there. So I'm just going to add just edges to those that are a little bit redder and just give them a bit of a two-toneness, because, you know, that's going to lift them even more. Thinking these white daisies as well, we should just do a little bit more in the centres, because we could do that lightness. That's a bit thick, isn't it? We're going to go 3D there, literally, but I don't mind that. Right, so I'm just going to mix this reddy pink now and just go into some of those areas on here. Just adds a little bit more depth to them, doesn't it? How's that looking? I do think maybe, now we've put a bit of this red here, maybe we should have a little bit in, maybe just a few. Oh gosh, that's really blurry, isn't it? I'll go back to that in a minute. Just so that same plant is around in other areas too. I do think we're done this time. Did you enjoy this one? It's a nice one, the bee, and I've still got the sun reflecting on me, but it's nice that we've got some sun, so let's be grateful. And this one, I honour my heart by giving it room to breathe. And seriously, I've had to do that myself because I didn't finish it in a day, which I normally do because I wasn't feeling too brilliant. But you know what? It's done now, and I really enjoyed it, and I hope you did too. And if you enjoyed doing that, please do like and subscribe to my channel, because that's the only way that I'm going to make this community come together. And that's what I'd love to do, is make it into a lovely community, somewhere safe to talk. Hope to see you next week.